joined by Wendel Trio, a climate change science and policy analyst and the former director of the Climate Action Network Europe. He's joining us from Brussels. Now, the International Energy Agency today said almost all nations must substantially up their spending and get to net zero faster, 5 years sooner. How realistic is that when many governments are rowing back on their commitments?
Well, yeah, that is, of course, one of the main elements of the paper. It says that it is still possible to achieve the objectives of the Paris Agreement and limit temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. At the same time, it is also clear that governments are not yet taking the actions that are needed and that fossil fuels are still abundantly used, while the alternatives are clear. The alternatives are to invest in renewable energy, in more energy efficiency, reduce energy waste, etc. So the report is clear. The alternatives are there. In principle, the money is there. It's economically, technically all feasible, but governments really need to make the right decisions right now, and they don't have to wait much longer anymore.
Well, I mean, given all of that, what can possibly be done more to persuade them?
Yeah, so, I mean, international cooperation is crucial here because countries will need to feel that other countries are not going to increase competition. So it's important to have that international cooperation, and therefore we are looking towards the next climate summit, which takes place in Dubai, in the United Emirates, to make a number of decisions. One is that countries collectively pledge to triple, and we hope even more than triple, investments in renewable energy, that countries will collectively pledge to double the rate of energy efficiency, and also there more is possible. But finally, also countries need to make it very clear that there is an end to the use of fossil fuels, and preferably that would be somewhere 2040, 2050 for a full phase out of all fossil fuels. And when countries are able to make that collective pledge, we can see that substantial progress can be made in further developing renewable energy, energy efficiency, and phasing out fossil fuels. And I think if we can get that kind of collective spirit, that will be very important.
And briefly, Wendel, what can we as global citizens do to help avert this climate disaster?
Yeah, so of course, it is important that we as individuals contribute, but we must be clear that we can't make the solution. It will depend on governments and companies to really take action. But as individuals, we can, of course, tackle energy waste in our own homes, in our own environment. We can shift to heat pumps, we can shift to electric cars, we can only buy renewable electricity. So there's a number of things that people can do, but it all depends on whether those things are available. For instance, buying an electric car, you need to have financial support, but also you need to have the charging stations available, etc., etc. So there's things that we as individuals can do, but there's definitely also a lot of things that companies and governments will need to do to help us make the right choices.
Wendel Trio in Brussels, thank you for joining us.